Kitco Mining special coverage of Xplor is brought to you by Radisson Mining.
Welcome back to Kitco Mining's ongoing coverage of Xplor 2025 in Montreal. Joining me now is Matt Manson, President and CEO of Radisson Mining. Matt, welcome.
Thank you.
So good to see you again. We spoke with you last year. I'd say the tone was positive, optimistic. This year the tone is almost celebratory. We have a very happy industry, the juniors and the majors.
Yep.
So just to reintroduce, so Radisson is a gold exploration company based here in Quebec, and you own 100% of the O'Brien Gold Project in Abitibi. So you've characterized O'Brien as high value, low capex, small footprints, and big upside. So tell us a little bit about that. How do all these things come together in a project like this?
So O'Brien is a former producing mine in Quebec, a well-known former mine, known for very high grades, right on the highway, right on the Abitibi, outside the town of Cadillac, in between Val-d'Or and Rouen. So high profile, project number one. It's a growing resource. There's about 1.5 million ounces there right now. There's a very aggressive drill program going on. We see that number getting bigger. We see a lot of upside potential. So growth, small footprint because we're surrounded by other people's projects. We're surrounded by mills in the Abitibi that have been going perhaps in some cases for several decades. And the heritage of mining in the Abitibi is a succession of ore bodies going through these mills. So we've been very open that we see that being our future. We see this as a project that's eventually going to get integrated into somebody else's sort of hub and spoke mining operation. So that's a small footprint. We don't see a new mill and a new tailings facility being required on that site. And so very active project, companies very well financed, doing a lot of things. The drilling really is our main focus right now. The project's getting bigger.
All right. Now, so on that note, you published a preliminary economic assessment in July. Now you're projecting an 11-year lifespan. This is just based on the numbers you have currently. So 11-year lifespan with significant upside. So what are the latest numbers there?
Yeah, so what we did last year, we published it this summer, was a snapshot PEA. We wanted to know what is this company worth at this particular moment, what is the asset worth. So we took the resource that we already had, which was a 2023 resource. So, relatively a couple of years old now, doesn't include any of the new drilling we've been doing, which we'll talk about. And we'd also done this MOU with one of our neighboring mills, with the Doyen Mill of Iron Gold Corporation. And we'd worked out the technical criteria for our ore going through that mill. So this gave us the premise basically for a PEA that showed the small footprint project, developing an underground mine on the existing resources, going to somebody else's offsite infrastructure, and what is that worth? And it's worth about $500 million of NPV, using 2550 gold, using 2000 gold for the design of the mine. And just that initial resource, a subset of the resource actually, gave us an 11-year mine life, 70 to 80,000 ounces a year in that kind of profile. Very high margin, 48% rate of return, small capex, 175 million, really good numbers. But it's still very much a snapshot, right? Because again, we see this as a bigger project. The drilling has been very successful. It's getting bigger, and we wanted just to know what are we worth right now on what we have right now. And it's good.
Right. It's a nice reason to have to do something like that is things are growing so quickly. You kind of need a snapshot. And I guess the clarity of knowing what mill you'd be working with and making sure that that's all compatible and you can price that at some level gives you the ability to kind of lock that down, get clarity enough to do that sort of work.
Yeah, we done it's what's called a what if PEA. What if we mine this deposit on what we have right now and we send it to somebody else's mill, right? We don't have an agreement on that mill.
And so it allows you to basically price it.
But yeah, it allows us to use real information, real data. It's a what if PEA, but based upon an operating site that's got published costs and it's a real situation with real numbers. And it's very good. But, we've been very careful to stress that there's no agreement there. There may not be an agreement there. And in fact, the dance card here for us, we think is pretty broad. There are other mills and other people, and there's other things, there's other conversations to be had, right? And so it was a very nice platform upon which to develop the data to inform this PEA and to establish, what is our project right now? What can it do right now? What's it worth right now? And then that's the springboard really for going forward from here.
So coming out of this BEA, you also had some news on the financing front. So you raised $25 million in brokered financing.
Yeah.
This was earlier this month.
Yeah.
So what is how are you seeing, I mean, tell me a little bit about that, but also how are you seeing the financing environment for mines and for companies like yourself at this point in this cycle?
Well, I mean, it's no secret. There's been a window here that's been open for a few weeks now, maybe about a month and a half. A lot of companies have been raising money. For us, we have the use of proceeds. We're having success with the drilling. The project's obviously getting bigger, right? We're valued right now at about $150, $200 an ounce. Our discovery cost is about $40, $50 an ounce, and we're having success with that discovery. So it's a very, just the dollars and cents of that, it's a very sensible thing to do to raise quality money, and I'll stress the quality. Good investors, we know who the investors are, solid institutional book, no warrants in that deal, no flow through in that deal, it's all hard dollar money, and it's going in the ground, right, to grow the resource on those types of valuation metrics. So, that made a lot of sense to do, right? And also this window, this isn't my first rodeo, right? Windows open and windows close, right? And windows also get into the kind of the latter stages of financing where maybe the quality of the money is not so good, the terms of the deals aren't so good. We didn't want to get to that stage in this window. So went very well, very successful deal, oversubscribed. We didn't take all the money that was available. We were disciplined. 140,000 meters. We immediately closed the deal, immediately made disclosure as to what we're going to spend it on. Drilling, 140,000 meters is a big program, the biggest program ever in the company's history, 8 drill rigs. And we're doing it because we've got 1.5 million ounces right now, all categories of resource. If what we've got right now continues down to a 2-kilometer depth in this project, most of our resources are above 600 right now. If it continues to that floor, which we think is our economic floor of exploration, we're in the 3 to 4 million ounce range, right? Forward-looking statements fully apply to me quoting numbers. But that's the target, that's the exploration target. So it's proof of concept drilling, big step outs. We're not really worrying right now about the quality of a resource we're going to get. We want to know the scale of the resource. What is the scope of this project? Again, what is this company worth at this moment? How big is this thing going to get? So big step out drilling. It's working. We're hitting. We put a press release out 2 days ago. More hits, right? So the thesis, they think there's a mesothermal gold deposit. They usually go down. This one's going down, right? Not rocket science. So so far so good, right? And if it keeps on going this way, we're going to end up with a bigger project, right? So that's about 90% of the company's effort right now is this drill program. As I said, we're going to 8 rigs, a lot of activity, a lot of data coming out of this, a lot of news flow. And the opportunity is something that's quite considerably valuable, I think. High value project, getting back to your original thing.
And as you mentioned, you just, I think it was just yesterday, you put out a press release on the latest assay results from the latest drilling. So 15 new step out drill holes and very, very high hit rate. So how do the latest results, because you're saying you're going deeper and deeper and you're finding what you're hoping to find. So how do these, of course you still have the PEA, it's the snapshot, it's like, this is what you can confidently say. But how do these latest drill results impact the projections going forward?
So right now, again, as I said, we're really interested in knowing the scope of the project. So an illustration of that is we drilled, the first hole in the step out program was actually published in late December of last year. And that was a hole that went 500 meters below the bottom of the old mine. The old mine that was closed in 1957. It ended at a kilometer depth. And it was 0.5 ounce average grade, the stope that ended at that level. And it ended there for economic reasons, not for geological reasons. Gold back then was $35 an ounce, and that was where they were going to end. So we drilled below that stope, first time in 70 years that anybody had done that, amazingly. But we went 500 meters below the old mine, a big jump down, right? We're not nibbling at the edges of things here. We're doing these big, brave step outs, and we had an ounce over 8 meters. So we've now filled in that whole area. We've got a 250 meter by 500 meter area where we're hitting everywhere, and that's below the old mine. That's a lot of ounces are coming out of that. But the press release 2 days ago was we had some drill holes below the western part of the old mine. We hit there. We had just one drill hole below the old mine. Well, we had a couple, but we had one in there that again hit below the old mine. And then we had our best hole was actually over to the east, below the newer resources of the project. And for reference, your viewers can go to our last press release and see the graphics are illustrating what I'm describing here. But we have numerical trends 1, trends 2, trends 3, and we had I think it was 10 grams over 6.5 meters, filling in a gap between two of our trends. Geologically, that one was very significant because that's implying that there's connectivity in that area, which implies quite a lot of ounces there. So 3 different places below former mining, former drilling, and we hit in each of the 3 places. So yeah, 13 of 15 holes that we press release gave us resource grade, resource thickness intercepts that will be contributing to a future new resource. And that's a terrific success rate, right? That's, that continues as it has been. That's been a pretty consistent success rate all year. Figure 2 in our most recent press release for your viewers is a compilation of all of these deeper holes over what's now 4 press releases, and you'll see it filling in, right, as all these drill holes are laid on top of each other. And we've had that kind of success rate for all of those press releases, right, all of that drilling. So it's really, I think people are actually waking up a little bit. Eyes are being opened to what's going on here. O'Brien's been there since the late 50s. The company has been drilling it for a number of years. In the last, I'd say, year and a half, we've really pressed the accelerator button. We're really pressing the accelerator button now with all this 140,000 meters of drilling. And, it's looking good. It's going well.
Yeah, to get a hit rate like that, anywhere you point your drill is pretty encouraging.
Yeah, well, not quite almost anywhere. I mean, there is some science going on here.
Being selected.
Right, yeah.
But very encouraging at depth and these kinds of.
Yeah, it's good. It's happy hunting time at Radisson Mining Resources right now. Yeah, for sure.
So then, looking ahead to 2026, what are some things we should be looking forward to, or what are some maybe milestones, or maybe just goals that you guys are pursuing into over this winter and into 2026?
Well, I think it's like we spent last year, establishing the strategy for this company and this project. We see it being integrated into somebody else's operations in some form to be determined. It's getting bigger such that that might not be the best value direction for us. There might be a different value direction. It may be something that stands on its own feet in a much more compelling way. And so we've been doing a lot of work around the strategy, a lot of work around de-risking. We've brought out that PEA. What is this thing worth? But at this stage, it's quite clear that the drilling of the deposit, the success we're having at depth, the increase in the scope of the deposit is the most important thing we could be doing right now in the company. So, about 90% of our time, 90% of our financial resources, which are now quite considerable, are being spent on that drill program, right? And that is the best thing we can do for our shareholders and for this project and for the future of this project. There's going to be some de-risking work. There's going to be some environmental baseline work and community consultation, engineering optimization. We're going to look at different things, different future directions perhaps for approaching the mining of this deposit. But drilling is going to be the thing, right? And 8 rigs. It's going to be a busy site. We're expanding the core shack. We're hiring geologists and geotechs. And we're really, we're going to cast a wide net on this deposit this year. That's going to be the story for the next 12 months.
All right. Well, we'll have to check back with you before this time next year, because it sounds like you'll be having some potential results every few months from the sound of it.
Pretty regularly, yeah. I think so, yeah.
Great. Well, we really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you.
Very positive news once again.
Yeah, thank you.
There's plenty more from Xplor 2025 in Montreal still ahead. I'm Ernest Hoffman for Kitco Mining. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any of our upcoming interviews.
Kitco Mining special coverage of Xplor is brought to you by Radisson Mining.